I don't understand what's going on. Why was it just raining super hard, but also the sun was just peering through? No, it's still raining. What the heck is going on? So, hi, I'm back. Yeah, I had some ideas in my head about maybe I'd do this, maybe I'd do that, but then... So, forget, we're just gonna do what I said last time. So, right, we're gonna be talking about the history of the Æthelish. Might not be the right pronunciation, but yeah, according to my sources, it's pronounced Æthelish. That's dumb, I call him the Æthelish. Anyways, right. The Æthelish. They are one of the major groups in Antiquity Deimos. And I'm just gonna run down a quick history about them with as many visuals as I could muster up. Might have some demo maps here on Microsoft Paint too, who knows. Right, to start off with, the Æthelish are a people who are closely linked to the Watni people, who are one of the Bjorni peoples, and yeah, they're closely linked to them type of stuff. And they used to be kind of neighbors, kind of a similar kind of culture and stuff. However, the predecessors to the Æthelish, who were called the Saki originally, they were starting to interact with some of the southern neighbors type of stuff, and decided to go like, hey, let's like build a bunch of cities and walled forts and stuff like that. They started to make their own little sort of civilization north. However, the Watni weren't really big fans of that for a few specific reasons I'm not gonna get into. But, the differences accrued, and eventually the Watnis started to, raiding their territories over and over and over again, and the Saki were in a big crisis stuff. And that's when this fellow by the name of Sigurd came over. Sigurd was said to have been the descendant of gods that the Saki believed in. And by the way, I got an actual image for this guy. He's got his own face and everything, so that's cool. So Sigurd decided to gather up the Saki and began to form his own little band of warriors called the Sighyr. The Sighyr ran around and started, protecting Saki villages and cities and such, and began to grow a big old following. And eventually, after this big, massive battle, where one of the villages burnt to the ground, they rebuilt a new city called Saxton. Saxton stood as the home of the Saki for about 500 years or so, until eventually the Watni came back, ended up, laying siege to the city, and eventually destroying it altogether, nearly wiping out the Saki entirely, except for 10 longships that sailed across the Western Ocean to find some other place further south. Led by the captain of the guard, before the city burnt to the ground, named Pega Antaslaga. He revised the Sighyr and led his people southwards, where he would eventually die at sea. However, his son would take his place, Sinric. Sinric managed to find a big old island called the Peaked Island, and they made a negotiation with the Drusian Empire, who was south of their territories, to act as a sort of mercenary band that they would be able to utilize to defend against various roaming barbarians. And they served the Drusians for a while until after Senric's death. After Senric died, his domains got split up between his 7 children. But in the end, one of them, Elred. I'm gonna go with Elred. Elred ended up becoming the new leader. However, the main reason why he became the leader is because of his son, Ethel, who basically acted as a bit of a reverse regency for him, where he was the younger one, but he was a lot more politically savvy than his father, and he supported him to allow him to get to the top position. However, still, Ethel was pretty much the leader of the Saki at that point, and would eventually become far more important to his people than, Ethelred ever was. However, following his father's ascension to the throne, new barbarians came over to try to wipe out the Saki again, and they couldn't defend themselves because the Drusian Empire wasn't able to help them because they just flat out ceased to exist at that point, as they fell apart during the middle of their political shenanigans. Ignore the rain! So they continued to ship over south, until they eventually land in this territory, where they decided they were going to form a new permanent presence in the land. But when they got there, they discovered another race of creatures that was determined to not have them settle the area. But I think that's about all the time I'm going to leave for this. We'll continue with this conversation about the history of the Æthelish in the next video. So until then, I'll see you around. Please don't mind the rain.